Welcome to the Binge Eating to Food Freedom podcast for driven hearts and minds. If you pour your best self into everything you do, and yet food takes up so much energy that it pulls you away from what matters most, you're in the right place. I'm Katie Papo, and I'm here to help you create a healthy relationship with food that supports you to live your highest and best life. And for an extra edge, become a food freedom insider. Each week, I'll give you free, practical wisdom you can actually use in your daily life and more. Just head to katiepapo.com/resources or check the show notes. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode. I am so happy and grateful to welcome my client Hannah onto the podcast today. Hannah is here to share her food freedom journey, and she has endured so much, and she will tell you all about it in her relationship with food, with her body, with herself. And something unique about this episode is that we actually recorded it while she was in the middle of the program. So we were in week 9 of her doing this work when this podcast was actually recorded. And now a couple months later, she actually just finished today. And it was actually a month early as well. She felt that she had achieved her vision for herself. And while she always views herself as a work in progress, she felt like she had everything that she needed to move forward with confidence and peace. And I'm so grateful that Hannah generously offered to come on while she was right in the midst of this work, because usually when someone comes onto the podcast, as you've probably heard in previous episodes, they've either been months out from finishing their work with me or they're years out, like a few years later. So this is a unique experience, and I look forward to sharing this with you. And thank you again to Hannah for being so willing and open to share your journey. So welcome, Hannah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and so
I
happy to be going through your program. It's been life-changing.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear it. So when we first met, you had shared how long this problem had been taking over a huge amount of your mental power and emotional energy. So whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my food and mental troubles began from pretty much the time I was born. I mean, my whole mom's side of the family has been obese, still struggles with obesity and type 2 diabetes. And my mom wasn't in great health when she had me. So we already had high insulin and all those types of issues. But we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And high carb, high sugar, high processed food was pretty much what I was raised on, to no fault of my parents' own. We just didn't have the means or the education to be healthy. Naturally, I was kind of a chubbier kid, and food was something that I turned to for emotional comfort for as long as I can remember. And my mom's the same, and my whole mom's side of the family is the same way. And I had an older brother who really emotionally abused me and physically abused me as well for being chubby, and would always call me a fat cow and would throw me to the floor and grab my fat rolls and grab my fat cheeks. He would call my cheeks fat and grab them and twist them and like leave bruises on my body. And so it was pretty traumatizing from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old all the way through my childhood. And I was young enough, and there was no social media, and I didn't really hang out with anybody, so I didn't have too much to compare to. But I just knew he called me fat all the time, and his friends would make fun of me, and I didn't want to be fat anymore. Once I hit high school, then I started to realize, oh, people are pretty and people care about their diet, and these girls aren't eating as much, and these girls are super skinny. And so that's at that point where it became even more mentally distressing for me. And I started to take extreme measures to try to lose weight. And, I wasn't like massive by any means, but I was definitely on the thicker side. And I started with eating healthy and starting to eat fruits and starting to exercise. And I saw some progress. And then I got a lot of positive feedback. Like my friends would be like, oh, you look really good. What are you doing? You look amazing. And so I became obsessed with that positive reinforcement of losing weight. And then I just started to take it to extremes and I got prescribed Adderall to I do have ADD, and I didn't like taking it though, but I started taking it just to help suppress my appetite. And then I completely retreated. I didn't like really hang out with anybody. I wouldn't go out to dinners or lunches or parties or anything like that. I would just do my schoolwork and use that as an excuse to pretty much avoid everything because I didn't want to eat and I didn't want to just sit there and, stare at the wall while everyone was eating. And then the binge eating eventually kind of started, but I was binge eating like lettuce pretty much. So I would starve myself all day, go to school, and then I would come home later at night, and then I would binge eat lettuce with sugar-free dressing or something like that. So my body was super deprived of nutrients. I suffered from a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression and lack of self-worth. And the skinnier I got, I didn't feel any better. I was just like, "Oh, I just gotta be skinnier and get skinnier." So I ended up dropping down to like 100 pounds, and I probably 140, 135 when I started high school, and I dropped that weight very quickly, probably within 3 or 4 months, as quickly as you could possibly drop it. It was very extravagant, and I was just very isolated and depressed, and so it was like a combination of anorexia and binging at the same time, which was interesting, but it was just the whole experience was horrible. Like, that disorder was suffocating, and I was completely alone, and my parents didn't care, and they weren't really around, or they didn't even mention anything about my weight or anything. And I didn't have resources to turn to. I didn't have, money for therapists. I didn't even know what that was at the time. I didn't have a good friend circle. I really had nobody. And so I lived in that place for a long time. And then about senior year, my body was so shut down and hungry that I developed another disorder, which was sleep eating. And so I would literally wake up in my sleep and I would sleepwalk and I would eat everything in the house, like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of calories. And of course, I would wake up feeling like I was 9 months pregnant. I would be extremely depressed. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to my senior prom. I didn't want to go to anything or leave the house. And then I would try to fast to compensate for the binging in the middle of the night, and then it would just kind of, like, repeat the cycle, and, it was a really, really, really dark place, and I wanted to die, and I didn't know what else to do because I had been doing that cycle for, at this time, 4 years, and I didn't really see a way out. And then I graduated high school and moved out on my own, made some money, bought my own property in real estate sales. I was able to make a good amount of money quickly to do that. But I further isolated. I didn't go to college classes. I would just show up for exams. I was super insecure in it. And by this time, I was now gaining a lot of weight because I was actually binge eating like calories and high density foods. So that was further depression, further anxiety, further isolation. And I would like just research the next diet. Like, what's the next diet I could try? And that's when bulimia kind of started because I was eating so much. And then I would try to make myself throw up, but I really struggled to do that. I don't have like good gag reflex or anything. So I remember it was just a horrible, shameful time of binging with the brain telling me that I would just purge, but not being able to purge. And then it was just an absolute nightmare. And my face is all swollen and disgusting, and just feeling just so broken. And so that was like the darkest part of my life. And fortunately, when I finished college, I went to get a job, so I was forced to be around people. I was working 9 hours a day. We had work lunches pretty much every day, and there was like required work events. So I started to eat a little bit more normal as far as, lunch and dinner type thing. And then I moved in with a guy. And so obviously I couldn't have those same behaviors, but I would still struggle with the sleep eating even years later. And it slowly started to get a little bit better because I was eating more consistently throughout the day and I wasn't putting myself in that like fasted starvation mode as much, but it continued to be a struggle and I continued to not be able to have the body that I really wanted and feel good about myself. And it was just always food obsession was in my mind day in, day out for as long as I can remember. And I don't even know how I've been able to accomplish so much with all the food obsession I've had. So yeah, and that kind of went on. And then I started to do like the healing work about 3.5 years ago is when I was introduced to energetic intelligence and paying attention to what makes you feel expansive and what makes you feel contracted. And I started to slowly step out of, toxic relationship that I was in, started to learn a little bit more, started to exercise daily, and that helped me a lot mentally. And then at that point, I got on antidepressants, which really helped me be able to have cut the anxiety so I could start to build relationships, get out there and work. And I'm in real estate, so it's a relationship business. So I felt confident there. And I had some more money by that time. So I started to go to the gym a little bit more and create that habit. And that definitely helped me stay in, like, eventually the sleep eating went away and I moved forward in the right direction. But the binge eating never went away. Like, it was always, especially certain triggers in times of stressful times or breakups or high stressful work environments, I always turned to food and was just a compulsive overeater and a binger. And so it was really hard. It has been really hard to find like peace and fulfillment. And especially, I know most people who struggle with this are very type A, disciplined, perfectionist, probably lack of self worth, people that probably have some sort of trauma in their life, past or present, that's causing this urge. But yeah, at some point I was just so sick of it. I was so sick of the cycle. And then I was randomly on a plane and I found your podcast because I'm an avid learner and reader. And everything has changed since then. And so it's been really an exciting journey. And it's amazing to be able to slow down the train, as you say, and actually start to feel my body and not just live from the neck up and live in my logical brain, but slow down, feel my body, be connected, and try to build an actual healthy relationship with my body versus just fighting it all the time.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Hannah. When you came to me, when you found me on the podcast, there were a few things that we had talked about right in the beginning in terms of your goals and what was your vision for yourself?
Just having a healthy relationship with food and not being controlled by it. And, of course, I'm tired of the yo-yo weight gain and weight loss. And I'm a decently in shape. It's more of a mental thing, right? Like, I just wanted to be free from food. I wanted to be able to enjoy food and have a healthy relationship with food and not be completely controlled by it and be in this constant. It's like what insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I'm like, I've done all the diets. I used to be able to starve myself and I can't anymore. Like, I've tried for the past 10 years and it doesn't work. I've tried the calorie counting and I just can't do it. And I've tried the no carb and I've tried the keto and I always cave and I always binge and then I just feel really bad. And I just never wanted to have that feeling again of that shameful, hopeless, out of control, self loathing. And it's just a really depressing way to live. And I wanted to set myself free of that.
Beautiful. Do you remember any of the, let's say, week 1, week 2, any of the first moments of freedom that you experienced?
The first thing was just realizing the whole concept of slowing down the train and starting that practice of meditation and beginning to become an observer of my thoughts and of my body signals. And I think it was always I black out type thing. I disassociate and I eat everything in sight and I don't even know what happened, but I know, I guess, what I'm doing, but I'm getting pleasure about it out of it, or peace or freedom or whatever emotional thing that I get out of it. But then I'm not even there and I'm enjoying it. And so I loved that in the beginning. It clicked of like, binging is just eating. It's just eating in a very fast out what seems to be an out of control type of manner. And I realized and you're like, Give yourself permission if this is what's really good and you really want the food in this moment, and that's what you're craving, then okay, eat it, but at least slow down, at least taste it, at least be present with it and not distracted, and put your fork down and relax your muscles and all of those things made me just realize, like, God, I'm seeking so much pleasure from this food, but I'm not even getting it. All I'm getting is pain. And with your methodology and just being able to slow down and be present and coming from a place of compassion and not guilt or scarcity, because the scarcity is what creates the desire to binge because it's like the diet's tomorrow or I won't have a cookie again after tomorrow or whatever, then you can actually enjoy food and like have permission to enjoy food, and giving yourself that permission actually allows you to help heal versus what we always think is the opposite, which is what we've ingrained in our head the whole time. It's like we have to not give ourselves permission in order to, heal or lose weight or whatever.
Yeah, it's this interesting counterintuitive thing because we think that if I allow myself to feel pleasure, then I'll never stop eating. But in
Mhm.
reality, if we never let ourselves feel pleasure, and I'm talking genuine pleasure, then we can't actually feel satisfied. And when we feel satisfied, these are the signals that actually allow us to stop eating in a non-forced way, in a more effortless way. And this has been your experience, and you had this experience, I would say, pretty fast. And what would you say have been the biggest shifts in yourself that have been most meaningful to you?
Well, I got off antidepressants, and that's huge because I wanted to do that for ever since I started them. I didn't know I would be able to. I've tried to get off of them multiple times, and the anxiety was so intense, I just immediately retreated. But with you training me to slow down, and now also I have a dedicated meditation practice twice a day at least, and then I try to before I eat or while I eat or in any amount that I can throughout the day, but just really slowing down and realizing how disconnected I was from everything. I was just like this computer brain that wasn't even living in the present moment or enjoying anything. Like I wasn't really feeling pleasure or pain. It was just there was clearly pain, but I was just masking it with food or whatever else in my life that I'm addicted to. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing is getting off the antidepressants, starting the meditation practice, which now I love so much because it really puts me in my body and causes me to start to feel rather than just think all the time. And then a huge one, maybe probably the biggest, would be the way that I see myself and talk to myself. Because now I'm an observer of my thoughts. Yes, the thoughts come up all the time when I look in the mirror. It's, "Oh, you're ugly," or when I see a picture, it's, "Oh, you're fat," or whatever that comes up. But now instead of just believing it and then that turning into an emotion and then an action, I always think of your voice, like, "That's residue." And, it's like, "Okay, that's residue, and I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I'm grateful for this body, and I'm grateful for this life, and I'm grateful for this experience." And just having that self-compassion makes everything so much lighter and so much easier and so much more fun and so much more exciting to live because it's like we were talking about that this morning. It's living in the gain, not in the gap, and being truly grateful and compassionate for what you do have and how far you have come, not measuring up against that future ideal of where you want to go because we always want to go somewhere better. We always want to improve and look better and have more money and be prettier and be smarter and wiser and all the things, but really stepping back, like that exercise that we did recently, stepping back and measuring against where you've come from. I was suicidal 8 years ago, thinking that how I could kill myself, and I was alone and depressed and isolated, and now I'm such an incredibly happy person. And yeah, I'm a work in progress, and I always will be, but just having the compassion for who I am, how far I've come, and being able to have grace for myself because I'm not a perfect person and I don't need the approval of everybody. I just need the approval of myself. And that love comes from within. And for who I am, just as a human, as a creation, it has nothing to do with my body size or my hair or whatever else all these other people could perceive as what I should or should not be. So that's been absolutely incredible and life changing.
Your inner dialogue, I think, has been one of the hugest changes from what I can see too. It's Amazing. We were talking this morning about you're becoming an ally to yourself, and I feel like one of the biggest things that so many of us have struggled with with binge eating is we feel at war with ourselves. We're fighting our bodies constantly. We're fighting our minds constantly. We're fighting cravings constantly. It's like constant fighting and war. And to feel like, okay, now I have this team that's harmonious and working together. It's me, it's my body, it's my mind. We're all working together. That's so empowering and freeing. And I wanted to ask you because we don't really talk about binges anymore. I'm just realizing right now in real time that this hasn't really come up as a topic of conversation in any of our weekly calls in quite a few weeks now. And so I wanted to ask from basically where you were when you started with the binge eating, how has that evolved for you over time?
Yeah, I don't really binge anymore, which is amazing. I'm present. Like I'm there and I love food. I'll always love food. I love the taste of it, the satisfaction of it. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world and it's so nice to be able to give myself permission to love food and that's okay. Like I can love ice cream and pizza and all those things, but it's being able to enjoy them, the full pleasure of them, not the unpleasure. Like enjoy them until your body is full and is like be in tune with your signals that you don't need to eat yourself sick. You could have another piece of pizza in an hour or 10 minutes if you want, or tomorrow or whatever. It's not like you have to have this shameful thing around eating the pizza because you can just enjoy the pizza and when you realize your body's full, you stop eating. So I used to be ordering DoorDash and even pretty recently, like up until a few weeks ago. But there'd be those times where I'm alone at home and those triggering moments or go through a breakup or a stressful thing at work or whatever, right? And I'm ordering and eating a whole half gallon of ice cream and then just feeling so sick and just shoveling it in my mouth. And now it's like I can order the ice cream, I can enjoy the ice cream, but I can actually taste the ice cream and slow my breath and relax my muscles and be present and have a longer process of eating instead of swallowing a half gallon in 5 minutes and feeling just horrible, and my body physically feels horrible, mentally feel horrible. I can, in 15 minutes, enjoy the ice cream without guilt, without shame, and have an amount that feels good for my body and being able to tune in with that. So, I think, yeah, ultimately, I mean, I would say, yeah, I don't binge anymore. It's been an insane progress, and I know we're only 9 weeks in, and I'm gonna continue to be a good partner to my body and know that the food is not going anywhere. I can have it anytime I want.
I remember when you were on vacation and there was like pizza or ice cream, and you very easily had a bite or had a little bit, and then you were able to leave it, but the leaving it didn't come from a place of, "Ooh, I'd better force myself to stop now." It was like, "Okay, that was satisfying, and now I feel very easy to let it go." And those moments of freedom are really the signs that this is real change that's becoming more embodied in you, who you are, because it's not coming from a place of force. It's coming from a more natural place of just not having the desire. And I think you also had a moment of, forgetting I forget which food it was, but forgetting that there was, like, something in the fridge, uh,
Yeah,
for the
with ice
first time
cream.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I had a pint of Ben& and Jerry's in the freezer, because I got it for the I think for the food experiment, and, yeah, it was in there for days. Normally would have never been in there, like, the instant it got in this house, it'd be gone. So, that was nice, and in Vegas over Thanksgiving, very triggering with all the Thanksgiving food, and just my previous Thanksgivings have always been a nightmare, but, one half of my family was anorexic, the other half was obese, so talk about an awkward Thanksgiving dinner every year. But, in Vegas, we had my favorite pizza ever. It's this vegan pizza place. This place is so good. I like it better than normal pizza, and I had they're smaller pieces, and I had 2 pieces, and had, some ice cream with the coconut whipped cream or whatever afterwards, and Jeremiah, my friend, the next day, he was like, Well, I've never seen you eat so calm. Like you just I didn't have, and I wasn't trying to do anything. I just had the 2 pieces and clearly I recognized I was satisfied and there was more pizza pieces in the box. And he's like, "Well, last time we ordered pizza, you downed like the whole thing in this frantic, you know, type Hannah way." And so it was really cool to just to see an outside observer see that I was more calm around food and just enjoyed it. And I was and it wasn't guilty or shameful, and I didn't feel sick after, and I could just allow my body to enjoy it in all ways.
That's so awesome. That's the best is when we can get that outside feedback because we know we're changing, but when someone else notices it, it's like this nice extra bonus validation that what we're doing is working. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Is there anything else, Hannah, that you feel like is on your heart to share? We have a lot of people listening to this podcast who are struggling right now and in a place of not even knowing because they've done all the diets too. Every kind of diet, all kinds of willpower and food rules. Is there any message that you feel called to share?
I mean, you've helped me in my life in so many ways, far beyond just eating and my relationship with food. And so, and I know e I've always struggled. I've always put myself last, and I was gonna do the same thing with you. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. Should I do it or should I spend the money? Should I spend the time?" And da 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 da. Da. And it's the best decision I've ever made, and you've helped open the floodgates to so much more healing. And as you know, now I'm working with a relationship coach, and I'm really deep in meditation. Like your practice of meditation has gone me down to Joe Dispenza, and now I'm signing up for his retreats and stuff. And it's been such a massive transformation and the best investment I've ever made in my life. So I just encourage anyone listening to make the investment in yourself. Like this is the most important thing above all else. And you're never going to be successful in any area if you aren't happy and if you don't have a good relationship with your body, with your mind, with your food, and you're a whole and connected and present person. And so I think you're absolutely priceless. And my only regret is not being able to have found you 10 years ago, you know? So that's what I would say. I just want to say thank you so, so much.
Aw, thank you, Hannah, and you're welcome. I love being a witness to your growth every week, and you really do grow every single week, and we still have more to go. So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much for being here on the podcast and for sharing your journey so openly and generously. And I look forward to seeing where we're going next.
Me too. Thank you, Katie.
I just wanted to thank Hannah once more for coming onto the podcast and sharing so openly. And I'm also so grateful to report that now, a couple months later, Hannah is thriving even more and has so much confidence in herself and her relationship with food. And the level of trust has really deepened. So, thank you to Hannah for coming on. And also, thank you for listening. And if you're someone who, like Hannah, is ready to let go of the binge eating, let go of the food obsession, and really prioritize your peace and your well being. So, this is just a non issue in your life. Go to katiepapo.com/programs, and you can work with me just like Hannah did. And I'll guide you through this exact process, step by step, that for years has been helping people end food obsession, end binge eating, and create a truly healthy, peaceful relationship with food. So you can go to katiepapo.com/programs and you can check the show notes. I'll see you next week. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you're ready to take the next step in your journey, become a food freedom insider at katiepapo.com/resources. You'll get free practical guidance and instant access to my foundations class. That's katiepapo.com/resources. New podcast episodes come out every week, so subscribe to the podcast now. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd take a moment to leave a kind review. It's very meaningful to me, and it helps other people find freedom too. I appreciate you so much, and I hope to help you further on your journey. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and others. See you next week.